A lightning bolt struck right in the middle of a game and nailed a player. We almost lost Ronaldo in a car crash, and Messi came close to breaking his neck on the field. 10 football players who almost died. Do you remember what happened to Christian Eriksen? Eriksen was one of Denmark's top players, but in a match against Finland during the first round of the Euro Cup, something tragic occurred. Everything seemed normal until at the 42nd minute of the first half, he abruptly collapsed on the field. No one understood what was happening, until the doctors rushed onto the field and realized he had suffered a cardiac arrest. Fans were in shock, and players cried witnessing the scene. Eriksen was quickly taken to the hospital and underwent surgery to implant a device in his heart. Fortunately, Eriksen managed to return to playing football, but someone who barely escaped death was Cristiano Ronaldo, who almost left us due to an accident. The accident took place in Mallorca and involved Ronaldo's $2 million Bugatti Veyron. The security personnel behind the wheel lost control and crashed into a wall of a house in the area where the Manchester United star was vacationing with his family. The front of the Bugatti was completely wrecked, to the point where it couldn't even be repaired. Although the accident was severe, thankfully, no one was injured. But Ronaldo came just inches away from losing a leg. This incident occurred early in his career, so we almost didn't get to see that magical Ronaldo who dazzled in the colors of Real Madrid. Another player who narrowly escaped death was Neymar. As a kid, Neymar faced a car accident that could have halted his career before it even began. This incident could have been the end, but for Neymar, it was just the beginning. At the time, he was only 4 years old, and his father was still a professional player. Neymar's dad had just signed a contract that allowed him to buy a house and a new car, and he took the fancy ride to visit his family in Santos. But something tragic happened on the way. It was pouring rain, and they lost control of the car on a highway. Neymar's dad got seriously injured and could never be the same player again, losing his agility and speed. As for Neymar Jr., he almost left us. He ended up under the seat. It was truly a miracle from the soccer gods that he survived. But even worse than that is the player who got struck by lightning. In 2014, during a match between Sport Aguila and Fuerza Minera in the Peru Cup, the impossible happened. In the middle of the game, lightning struck the field, hitting a player. The thunderous roar echoed through the stadium as electricity filled the air and the player fell unconscious on the grass. Despite the shock, no one else was injured. Well, except for the player who took the direct hit. Fortunately, he survived. But what if I told you that Messi also went through some tough moments on the field? Check out the tumble the Argentine took in a game against Juventus. He got the worst of a tackle and smacked his face right on the ground. That kind of impact could easily lead to a head injury. Luckily, he just ended up with a cut on his face, but another Argentine player wasn't as fortunate. His case left a huge scar on his face and nearly took his life. Tevez is one of the greatest players in history, but a childhood accident left a lasting mark on his face. When he was very young, he crawled towards a pot of boiling water and accidentally spilled it all over his face. His family was frantic, placing a nylon fabric over it to try to alleviate the burns, but it only made things worse. The fabric stuck to little Tevez's skin, resulting in the scars we see today. Fortunately, the water didn't penetrate Tevez's head. Otherwise, football would have lost a legend. Tevez's scars serve as a constant reminder of his journey, but instead of concealing them, he uses them as a symbol of his strength and resilience. Now, check out what happened to Everton Costa, a player who, in 2014, was loaned to Vasco da Gama, where he experienced the most dramatic moment of his life. In a Copa do Brasil match, Everton felt a sharp pain in his chest, got substituted, and suffered a cardiac arrhythmia on the bench. He was attended to by Vasco's medical team and rushed to the hospital, where he was hospitalized for several days. He even went into induced coma and needed to have a cardiac defibrillator implanted in his chest to regulate his heartbeats. Yeah, it was pretty serious. Everton Costa survived miraculously, but had to end his career at the age of 29. He received support from Vasco, which covered his treatment and salary until the end of his contract. But he wasn't the only one to experience a cardiac arrest on the field. Moussa Dembele was playing for Atletico Madrid when he almost kicked the bucket during a practice session. Suddenly, the player collapsed on the field in the middle of training, unconscious and not breathing. It was a shocking and terrifying scene that left all the players in panic. The club's medical staff rushed to his aid and started cardiopulmonary resuscitation. But what happened to Dembele? According to Atletico Madrid, Dembele experienced a drop in blood pressure and heart rate due to the heat and dehydration. He was taken to a nearby hospital, where he underwent a series of tests to rule out any serious heart problems. All the results came back normal, indicating that he didn't have any heart disease. Luckily, it wasn't anything more serious, and Dembele even managed to make a comeback on the field. Something tragic happened in Spain. Miguel Garcia was one of the beloved players for Salamanca, a team in the Spanish second division. But everything changed on October 17, 2010, when he stepped onto the field to face Betis. The game was in the second half when Miguel Garcia collapsed unconscious on the field. Salamanca's medical staff rushed to his aid, but he wasn't responding. That's when a hero emerged, Betis's doctor, Thomas Calero, who happened to have a portable defibrillator in his car. Calero sprinted to where Miguel Garcia was and applied the defibrillator to his chest, attempting to revive him. It was moments of anguish and tension until finally the player started breathing again. He was taken to the nearest hospital, where he stayed for a few days. The player had to undergo surgery to implant a device that monitors and regulates his heart, and unfortunately, he had to retire at the peak of his career. And he wasn't the only player who almost lost his life in a game in the Spanish league. The fullback Antonio Puerta suffered a cardiac arrest during a match against Getafe, giving rise to one of the most emotional stories in football. Antonio Puerta was a young talent who began in the youth ranks of Sevilla. In 2004, he debuted in the Spanish First Division, and the following season, he solidified his place as a starter. The guy scored some crucial goals and was on his way to becoming an idol for his team. His promising career attracted attention from big clubs like Arsenal, Manchester United, and Real Madrid. However, he never had the chance to shine outside Sevilla. A tragedy interrupted the promising star's career. On August 25, 2007, Puerta collapsed on the field due to cardiac arrest during a game against Getafe, the first of that year's Spanish league. On the way to the hospital, he experienced 5 more cardiac arrests. That night, hospital sources confirmed he had suffered a total of 9 cardiac arrests, causing irreversible damage to his brain and some organs. He passed away 3 days later, at the age of 22, due to a congenital heart condition difficult to detect and diagnose. In other words, he had a rare disease that unfortunately ended his life. Puerta left his girlfriend 8 months pregnant with their first child. Thousands of people paid their last respects at the player's funeral. Sevilla dedicated the 2007 UEFA Super Cup title, won against Milan, to him. The players of the Spanish national team also dedicated the 2008 Euro Cup title to him. To this day, Puerta is remembered by Sevilla fans with affection and respect. Now tell me in the comments, which of these stories is the saddest? Click on the video appearing on your screen to see moments when fans went too far.